Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Friday edition of Moohead Radio. I'm your host, a big and furry bovine. Today, we talk a little bit about the Cleveland Browns and just what's going on in the world of sports, a little bit of Cavaliers talk. And, of course, the Browns are going to kick off the show. There was some confusion about the way I'm handling the live program, and let me explain. If you go to mooheadradio.com and go to the chat room, you can click on the YouTube player right in the chat box, okay? I'm not running the show live on the big screen because I'm saving that for the archive. That way I don't have to keep changing links constantly on my homepage, and it automatically just within like 7 minutes of the program, I can flip this show into an archive on my front page and also leave people with the link on YouTube. Plus, it guarantees that people who come to chat will come to the YouTube area because that's where we do our chatting. And I do check the chat room frequently and carry on conversations with people. Now, here's the other thing, getting live on the program. I've left a link, which is a Google Hangout link. It did not work the last two programs. I tested it after the program. It worked. I would be more than happy if any one of you wants to click on the link to join me on the program today. The festivities are deserving of it. The Cleveland Browns got themselves a really good slot receiver, so we should all be relatively happy today. Click on the link and let's see if you can get into the studio with me. And we tested it. General Dog and I tested it, and it worked. And it did not work for General Dog earlier in the day. Now, Tony the captain said, hey, there, see, that's working. I don't know. That was a YouTube glitch. It wasn't anything that I did.
Got breaking news as the show starts. Adam Schefter, the Browns have just traded a third-round pick to Buffalo for Tyrod Taylor.
Oh, seriously? Good hunting there. Thank you. And this is what's so great about my crew. Okay, that's what LeBron always says. My crew. Thank you, Tony. A third-round pick, so we're utilizing a bunch, and we can assume that one of the picks that was used to get Jarvis Landry then will probably be another one of the third-round picks for sure.
So they're going to have their first three picks and then probably nothing for the rest.
No. We get 1, 4, 33, and 35. Okay. So it makes the.
Oh yeah, they do have 2 second-round picks. That's right.
Right. So I mean, it's going to make the 33 and 35 very interesting picks. We'll talk about that in a minute. Tyrod Taylor, I don't know. So you can kiss AJ McCarron goodbye, is what it amounts to.
Yep. It's number 65.
Number 65 would be the one
going to Buffalo for Tyrod Taylor.
Okay. Do we have anyone else in the third round? Any picks?
I don't have the draft up. Let me pull it up quick.
Yeah, if you pull it up, because they were saying that it was a third round or lesser pick in order to get Jarvis Landry out from under his situation in Miami. Tyrod Taylor, I've watched Tyrod Taylor play, and he is mobile. He is athletic. He's played in the league. He has won some games in the league, but he's certainly not any kind of a long-term answer. But with that trade, they do not have a third-round pick in this year's draft. So that means the Landry thing had to have been a fourth round.
I'm guessing
lower.
It's 4. I'm guessing probably you're looking at 2 fourth rounders. Maybe a fourth and a fifth, something like that.
Now, I'm going to ask you something, Tony. Did you smear your camera lens with Vaseline?
No, sorry.
What's going on? You're low definition.
I don't know what's going on. Might be a connection problem. Maybe computer's dirty. Hold on a sec. Let me get off.
Is it? I thought it might be a protest on your part about Derrick Rose. We'll talk about that later in the program too. Hey, Steven, how you doing, buddy?
I'm here.
Hey, I mean that's the name of the game. You know what you remind me of?
What?
You got what I call fucking psycho eyes. I don't know. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
Fucking feel like I'm gonna get fucking beheaded looking.
Yeah, I know. Check this dude out, man. I mean, all right. I think he froze up though. No, he's still moving. It was funny when he goes, "I'm here." You know what it reminded me of was, "Here's Johnny from." Yeah, you need an axe. You need an axe. You got to chop through the chat room to get to me. The Shining. Yeah. So Tony the Calf is trying to get himself clearer. And how did that work out, Tony?
It worked fine. Does it look clear?
It does look a little bit clearer now.
Those damn microfiber cloths come in handy, I tell you.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yep.
I thought it was the handy wipes you use for your ass when you can reach it.
No, it was the old sock that I found clanking around.
Oh man! So if you didn't hear, Stephen, Tony just came up with breaking news, as we call it here, that Tyrod Taylor is now a Cleveland Brown, as the Browns have traded a third-round pick for Buffalo's former quarterback, Tyrod Taylor.
Is this serious?
This is serious.
That's it, reported by Adam Schefter and pretty much anybody with an NFL.
Guys got Tyrod Taylor. I don't see why he doesn't start week 1.
Well, he is going to start week 1. Yeah. I think that's the point. I think that
here's the question: does Tyrod Taylor take quarterback out of the option at number 1?
Well, no, I don't believe that to be the case, but I think that what we're seeing is, people who are talking A.J. McCarron. A.J. McCarron never did shit. He never won an NFL game in his life. Tyrod Taylor has won, and he's played kind of 500 football with the Buffalo Bills. So, I mean, he's a guy who at least can keep the seat warm for a period of time. And what this tells me is whoever is going to be the quarterback drafted is going to sit for a little while.
The only reason why AJ McCarron's even relevant is because of his hot girlfriend or whatever. I don't even know if he married her, but whatever that Miss Universe was or Miss USA or whoever she was. But I mean that he wasn't even relevant in Alabama. So I mean,
but she may look good, but she don't suck a dick nearly as good as Stormy Daniels. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Oh, boy.
Mr. Moorhead, I don't mean to say this, but do you always notice all these nutcases in the NFL always get the finest girlfriends or subpar quarterbacks, like the Johnny Manziel hangs out with beautiful women, and the AJ Karens and all these guys that are just completely irrelevant, Yeah,
I mean, it's true. Johnny Manziel to me always looked like a drug-addled ferret. And I don't understand, but the more you go like this, that's going to get the hose. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I've always said this to Tony, and I'm certainly not a handsome man, but I have lost a lot of weight. But, the fact is that if you got this, man, you're going to get some really great-looking women, the wrong kinds of women, okay?
Yeah.
But that's what happens. They swoop in on professional athletes. No, but to go back to the Tyrod Taylor thing, I think what this does more than anything, if you got A.J. McCarron, and A.J. McCarron turned out to be absolutely not ready to play NFL football, then you clusterfucked yourself is what it amounts to, because you'd be forced to play somebody who has no business to play in their rookie season. I think this is the way that John Dorsey is saying, okay, here's the deal. We're going to get a quarterback in the first round, but that quarterback is going to be groomed to play. There's going to be no pressure put on this guy to play. He could sit 1 year. He could sit 2 years. Tyrod Taylor is a young enough player that and it's like I keep saying over and over again, this is not, folks, about making the playoffs. This is about getting yourself back to the point where you get 5 or 6 wins in a season, and going into a lot of games, there's actually a belief and a chance that you could win. It's the crawl before you walk scenario is the way I see this whole thing. And, Tyrod Taylor really makes sense from the standpoint that, he might have a chance to sometimes outrun the guy that Spencer Drango doesn't block or Sean Coleman doesn't block. He's athletic. So
Mr. Moohead,
Yep.
My father's watching the show right now. He just texted me. He asked me, would we be even having this conversation about A.J. McCarron if he wasn't even playing for Alabama under Nick Saban? He played up for somebody else.
Oh, yeah, because of the Hugh Jackson angle. I mean,
yeah, but you
that's
know,
the only reason he's really there's interest in.
But I know the question though is, would it make a damn bit of difference who A.J. McCarron was if he didn't go to a top notch college program? But I'll tell you something. He was a dogs. Hi, Michael. How you doing?
Hey.
A.J. McCarron was a game manager in college. Let's, the thing was when I saw A.J. McCarron playing at Alabama and people were hyping him, I said, this is like a 4-year guy who's just a, college guy who's like a game manager. I never saw him as being a legit pro kind of prospect. He has Alabama pedigree. That's the best thing you can say for him. And I can't put it any clearer than that. And I say with Tyrod Taylor, Buffalo has to do better. I mean, if you feel you're at a point in your life, your cycle in the NFL where you can make a run at the playoffs, you're going to have to do better than a 500 or slightly worse quarterback. But the Browns right now will jump at a guy who can win professional football games because we don't have one on the roster.
Right. And I get the sense that Tyrod being a bridge quarterback makes me think they're leaning towards more of a quarterback in the draft that's got long-term. He may not be good right away, but he's going to sit and learn and become, great. I don't think
there's a guy, though. I mean, really. I mean, I'm looking at if you have to reteach Darnold how to hold the ball in the pocket. I mean, this all reminds me of Tim Couch and his throwing angle. It was like Tim Tebow and his big wind up, and they had to shorten his, if you remember, they shortened his mechanics, and he still couldn't throw the ball straight. But when you come into the league, I don't remember anybody saying to Ben Roethlisberger coming out of Miami of Ohio that's like, oh, we got to change the way you throw, boy. I mean, the guys who really make it big, I never heard a problem about Carson Wentz's delivery coming into the pros. I don't know that any of these guys is like, they say the purest thrower is Rosen. That's why I've been kind of saying he would be of the bunch, my best pick. But he's the cleanest thrower of the bunch, but he's the least mobile of the bunch. I don't know. I mean, I think any one of those guys, anyone, and going down to number 5, number 6, Lamar Jackson, and all down there, none of these guys, I don't believe, are like going to walk in and start for an NFL team. And if they do, what's going to happen to them is what happened to Deshaun Kaiser.
More trades. The Browns have traded for Packers cornerback Demarius Randall for Adam Schefter.
Okay, Demarius Randall, I don't know anything about. Michael, was that you who was messaging?
I mean, I just messaged earlier, right when I heard the Tyrod Taylor deal break. But I'm pretty excited. We're finally getting some movement here. There's nothing going on at all.
Somebody just messaged me that we should trade the Barkley. I don't know what it just popped up on my screen. Let me. I said it said we should draft Barkley. It said that the Browns should draft Barkley now that the quarterback is settled. Now that you traded for a quarterback, maybe this is a hint that they're not going to go quarterback with the number 1 pick. Well, I can tell you this: I've done a lot more research, and a lot has changed today. The running back becomes, to me, an obvious first-round pick. In my mind.
Yeah, I think Saquon Barkley is a shoe-in at number 1.
Yeah, I think
and I really think it'd be a big mistake if they passed on him.
Yeah.
I just went back and I watched all this film like 3 or 4 times. And then I watched like 3 or 4 interviews. What a great kid. I mean, not to be stereotypical at all, but when like a kid has a chip or a bad attitude, and this kid is all about being great. Like, he was not happy with his numbers at the combine. And he's just a freak. I mean, his speed, his power, his vertical jump. I hate to take a running back at number 1, but I think that's the guy that's got to tote the rock for us. And I think he's just going to open up a lot of a lot of things for whoever's back there. If it's Tyrod or if a rookie jumps in, or even if it's your guy Deshaun Kaiser, I think Saquon has got to be the guy at 1, and then whoever we take it for, if it's Josh Allen or one of the quarterbacks or Minka Fitzpatrick or Bradley Chubb drops, but you have to take him at 1. I'm arguing with friends online now saying that a running back's a dime a dozen, but that Saquon Barkley is a freak.
Yeah, that's not a run-of-the-mill guy. I mean, if you're looking at a guy like Darius Goose, a guy like that who's coming off an injury-riddled 2017, there's lots of guys who they can, I mean, guys who are human bowling balls who are like 5'10" and 218 pounds, kind of like Isaiah Crowell build guys. And then there's a guy who is 230 pounds who runs a 4.4, you know?
Yeah.
He runs like a wide receiver and a fast wide receiver. Imagine a guy with sledgehammer power who runs damn near as fast as Travis Benjamin. I mean, that's freaking scary.
Did you see that, when they show the 40, whatever, the simulcast, they showed him matched up against even previous receivers. They had him lined up with Julio Jones, Antonio Brown, and Odell Beckham, and he was faster than all of them.
Yeah,
he reminds me of exactly what Adrian Peterson was coming out of college, but with a little more speed. I mean, this guy is going to be just fucking one of those change the game type running backs.
You got to have it. You got to have it in Cleveland with the weather the way it is in the division and with your quarterback situation. Let's be honest. I mean, Tyrod Taylor is going to be asked to get on the same page as his wide receivers. He's going to periodically take shots down the field. So he's got a better long ball than A.J. McCarron would have. But make no mistake, when you get Jarvis Landry, who is a guy who averaged 8.8 yards per reception, but has had over 100 receptions twice in his career and has had 1,000-yard seasons twice in his career and was at 987 last year. There's a guy who takes care of the middle of the field. The thing that's beautiful about the Browns is finally, if Josh Gordon can come back to form, then Corey Coleman doesn't have to carry the weight of being a number 1, which is a real problem for him. And then we have Njoku, who I think flashed last year as a guy who can get down the field. I mean, you'll have a big tight end who can run and get downfield. You're going to have a big wide receiver who can do it, then a more diminutive speed guy in Coleman, and then you have your possession guy over the middle. 33 and 35 picks are now not wide receiver picks. I was leaning toward, oh, God, we're going to have to go with wide receiver somewhere at 33 or 35. Now I'm starting to look at defensive backs and safeties at 33 and 35 and moving away from the wide receiver thing.
I think Coleman's gone. You don't think Coleman's gone? Because I had heard that he was going to be moved inside, and then Landry's obviously the slot guy. I think he's going to be traded on or before draft.
Well, even if Coleman's gone, they've got a lot of fucking money in free agency. And these moves today, and you couple number 1, which would probably be, like we said, Barkley, and number 4, and the future, that's a pretty good sell for some free agents. I mean, it's not like, Philadelphia or teams that, you're going to win Super Bowls right away. But, I mean, you're going to get some young, good free agents with the type of money they have and the future, which is promising, knock on wood, knowing the Browns' luck. But
now, DC Gaming, I'm in the chat room right now over on YouTube. First, I want to say hi to a bunch of people. Hi to Amsterdam and Mr. Capello, Josh Dolan, hi, Mark Jones, hi, and Wish I Was High. And DC Gaming is saying Tyrod Taylor for a 3rd round and Jarvis Landry for a 4th and 18 and a 4th and 19. So Landry.
I want to know where he's getting the Landry comp because I have not.
I don't know. I have not heard that either. I'm repeating what's being said in the chat room. So, maybe. And he continues to say, and after these 2 moves, we still have around $80 million. Yeah.
Thank you, Sashi Brown.
So Tony the Cat, Mr. Moohead, Michael, I'm just curious. Curiosity killed the cat. Cleveland's not known for the greatest destination to go to, and history proves it to be that case. Do you think with Tyrod Taylor being a likable guy, being a mobile quarterback, a quarterback that can also scramble as well, and the fact that he has a certain skill set that can help move this offense, do you guys think that this could be an attraction for other possible free agents to say, you know what, I want to play for this guy, or I want to give this process a chance here. Let's see where this goes, Well,
let's not start jizzing all over ourselves.
Mr. Moohead, you got to use that Pulp Fiction line. It reminded me of it, and let's not start jizzing over each other. The Harvey Keitel line. Let's not start sucking each other's dicks yet.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Tyrod Taylor is Tyrod Taylor. I mean, but anything is an upgrade when you're coming from Deshaun Kaiser. Now, Gary in the chat room is saying, mentioning the Demarius Randall deal. Now, anybody who wants to put some information about Demarius Randall in the chat room, I am not familiar with this player. I do not know whether he was getting a lot of field time.
He was a first-round pick in 2015 of the Packers. He started 9 games in 2015, had 3 interceptions, 1 for a touchdown, pass deflections of 14, 53 tackles. 2016, played in 10 games, started 9 of them, had 3 interceptions, had 9 pass deflections, and 33 tackles. And last year, started 12 games, 4 interceptions, 1 for a touchdown, and had 9 pass deflections and 38 tackles. So he's a serviceable cornerback. I mean, he's not up there.
And we need as many bodies in that position, as we possibly can. And it's all good news. No, but the answer to your question, Michael, is no, Tyrod Taylor is not going to inspire a bunch of free agents to decide to rush to Cleveland. Like I always say, Cleveland is basically it's on the same lake almost as far as climate is concerned, and it's Buffalo without the anchor in, without the wings. You have to be in Buffalo to understand. They're both similar kinds of cities, to be very honest with you. Except if the Browns were in Buffalo, we could have gotten Huey to jump off Niagara Falls instead of into a lake. And it would have taken care of him once and for all.
Hey, why don't they do like they did back in the 1930s, where if you went on stage and you did really bad, the people would throw tomatoes at you? Why don't they just do something like that with Wade Jackson?
Or what they do with the Apollo Theater in New York. And that's a bunch of black people giving you hell because you suck. And that would be much better for Huey. DC Gaming saying they reported that the Landry deal was 2 picks, 1 in 18 and 1 in 19. And they said that the picks were below third rounders. So I just assumed 2 fourths, but it could be a 4th, 5th, or even lower. So,
I'm assuming one of them is going to be a 4th round pick. I mean, that sounds like it'd be a safe assumption. I don't think Miami would give up, that kind of talent for.
What's going on with the Josh Gordon situation? I mean, y'all guys want to give me any intake on that?
On what? I'm sorry.
Is he
Josh Gordon? No,
yeah,
we still have. I think we have him for 2 more years, right? This season and the next. So it's like I think he's got to prove that he stays clean before we actually long term. And whatever we do commit to him, it's definitely got to be. His availabiliody laden. Like if you get popped again, you're not going to get any of this bonus money.
He's on a short leash. There's no question about that.
Josh Gordon is an exclusive rights free agent after this offseason.
Yeah, I mean we've got him locked in for this year.
But now, granted, he has to stay sober, but.
Right. I mean, I'm not too worried about Josh Gordon because again. We've done something to help our wide receiver situation, which is what I wanted to see start out happening. It opens up the door for Saquon Barkley, which the team has needed a franchise running back since Hector was a pup. I mean, I don't know. I mean, you talk to a Browns fan and say,
Hector. Who's Hector?
It's an old expression, since Hector was a pup.
Oh.
Yeah. You have to say it kind of like Walter Brennan. Like, since Hector was a pup. That would be something that would, be said in a Western or something. I'm giving you genre-specific dialogue, Michael. So
appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Every day.
It opens up the door, for the franchise running back. You ask Browns fans, it's crazy. Ask a young Browns fan. It's like, who was the best running back you saw in Cleveland? I mean, that played for Cleveland, not who visited. But
Jamal Lewis?
Jamal Lewis or Rhett, whatever that Rhett guy was, R-H-E-T-T or
Eric Rhett.
Yeah.
I mean, this is really
Benjamin Gay. I thought the legend of Benjamin Gay. I thought he was going to be the man.
We all thought that, like,
myself,
a guy named Ben Gay, you would think would get hot at some point, but it never happened. How about William Green? Run, William, run. I mean, they're bad running backs, man. I mean, now Isaiah Crowell, you throw him onto the pile. It's been forever. I mean, we're talking about Mike Pruitt, and it's crazy. And Greg Pruitt, and we're back in the 70s, man.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's Eric Metcalf up the middle, who was really a better kick returner than he was a running back. He was a better receiver than he was a running back. Well, we just haven't had shed. So,
but what do you think about like I had mentioned? I think it's the end of Coleman potentially, especially if Terrell Pryor comes back, because obviously Landry's moving inside, and if we get TP back and he's cheap and he was good in our system, him and Gordon on the outside, Landry in the slot. I mean, do you think that the ball that Coleman took off his face was his last catch in Cleveland, or do you think we're going to hold on to him? I think
he was good in Mike Pettine's system. We haven't really seen him in what way the revolutionary system is, but
I mean, we did last year before he got hurt. Was that last year? No, the year before.
2 years ago, he wasn't the coach.
I mean, what is the deal with Pryor? I mean, Pryor signs a deal to go to Washington and is a complete disappointment there. And get sat down. The guy that we saw in Cleveland, what I thought at the time, it was like, wow, what a transition this guy's made, but what an arrogant asshole he is. I mean, you think, somebody who groomed him, who got him ready from being a quarterback to being a wide receiver, who helped him make that transition, that there would be more respect toward the team that helped him get to that point. But, man, he was like running away from a burning building, and he was really not humble about it at all.
Well, he is now. He is now. He wants to come back. But the thing is, he supposedly had, like, ankle surgery, so that's obviously a little bit of a red flag for a receiver. But, I mean, with that speed and the freakish talent, that's what we wanted to see all along, that size and speed, and him and Gordon on the outsides and Corey Coleman in the slot. Get rid of Corey. We got Landry in there.
Hey, Steven, have you ever had a girlfriend really a nice-looking girlfriend who was just like batshit crazy, and you had that one little moment in time to get back together with her, and like you're thankful that you didn't do it?
Yes,
I mean,
plenty of times. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, that's the way I look at Terrell Pryor. It's kind of like, of course he wants to come back now because he shoveled shit. The guy is I mean, honestly, he couldn't make it in Washington. I mean, my God, he thought he was stepping up from Haslam to Snyder. I mean,
It's crazy. He could not get him and Cousins could not create any kind of chemistry. It's so weird.
Well, I mean, and that's the Kirk Cousins I'm sorry, Tony. We won't talk about Kirk Cousins because the Vikings are in the Kirk Cousins sweepstakes, and the Kirk Cousins.
Hey, we might not end up with Cousins. There's rumors Drew Brees might not be a Saint next year, so I mean that opens the fucking door.
Kirk Cousins, the sweepstakes for Kirk Cousins. You know what that's like? That's like walking into a brothel that has like 62-year-old mothers I wouldn't like to fuck. You know what I mean? It's like, that's no sweepstakes, man. That's no
well, realistically, if you're the Vikings, who would you rather have, Case Keenum or Kirk Cousins?
Well, I'll tell you, Keenum proved he could win. I've never seen Kirk Cousins do dick.
$90 million cheaper, too, to keep him.
Yeah, I don't understand why all these teams are. I mean, I understand good and great quarterbacks don't come around often, and I understand sometimes you're going to go with the devil you know rather than the devil you don't know. But in this case, they're treating Cousins as if he's a Peyton Manning kind of quarterback. Like, I have to have him, and I'll give him this amount for it. It's mind-boggling.
It is mind-boggling, and I never thought the guy had a great arm. He certainly can't put three good games back to back. That has been his history as a starting quarterback. But it shows you the absolute lack of quarterbacks in the NFL. And it's the reason why when you're the Cleveland Browns and you have the 1-4 pick, that it's presumed you're going to use the one on a quarterback because the league is starved. Starved that they're turning toward guys. I mean, I looked at the top 6 quarterbacks. And I'll tell you, you go start getting below Lamar Jackson and start getting into guys from Marshall. I mean, I don't know. I thought the plane crash did Marshall in. And now that, and
I mean, if a Randy Moss type comes out of Marshall, I'll take him.
If
another one of those comes along,
that would be nice.
Yeah, it depends if he decides to go actually run his patterns, though. Or if he wants to throw food at people in the team cafeteria. It just depends.
Mr. Moohead, if you were to line up Alex Smith and Cousins together, you couldn't tell the difference between the two, right? Argumentatively, other than a couple of differences. But if you line them up together, you can make the argument that one quarterback's better than the other. But they didn't give Alex Smith that kind of treatment, though. I guess because he was traded rather than was a free agent. But with Cousins, they're treating him like he's like a Tom Brady almost.
Yeah, well, Alex Smith would have been treated the same way because Alex Smith has actually won. He actually has gotten the team into the playoffs, and he does not turn the ball over. Now, he also doesn't throw the ball more than 3 yards. But the fact of the matter is he doesn't turn the ball over. Kirk Cousins is a guy who can roll up 350 yards passing one week and then the next week throw 3 picks. I mean, he's all over the place, and there's no bargain to be had with that guy. I don't get it. I just certainly don't get it.
Yeah, and I heard a stat right when they announced that deal that something that Tyrod Taylor, at least during the same time period that they've both been starters, that Tyrod actually has more wins than Cousins. So, I mean, even though Tyrod's not ideal, I mean, for what we had to give up for him, I think, Dorsey did a good job there. I mean, saved us $190 to $100 million and guaranteed that the guy was going to get regardless if he was a stopgap quarterback, and unloaded some of those picks that, we couldn't have all those young guys in the team anyhow. So ends up being a win-win and the stopgap, even though most of us, I think, aren't too jazzed about it. But, he did what he was supposed to do.
Now, Brian Holman is saying Ernest Biner and Kevin Mack, and I'm good with all that. That's 80s Browns. Yeah. I think my point was it's been decades. Now, DC Gaming says Pryor is not that good, people, and we have a new system, so no on Pryor for me. We'll keep Coleman, and I think he'll be good under the without the pressure of the number one. And I agree. I just don't think that Corey Coleman – you know what it reminds me of? Corey Coleman is like Kevin Johnson was. And he was forced to be a number one because he was playing for an expansion team. Coleman might be good if he's not doubled out, outside. If he's, there could be at least some value in him. They're not going to boot him off the team. Now, on the other hand, Ricardo Lewis, there goes my argument for gun control. Just Ricardo Lewis should be gone. They should cut him and be done with him. So let's see what else is being said. Brian Holman is saying, like I said about Darnold, what he is in college is what he'll be as a pro. However, he'll be able to afford windshield wipers for his forehead. So that's like a good thing. Amsterdam says Tony the Calf's profile looks like a manatee with a hat on. Boy, that's cold. That is fucking cold. Tony's my friend. And Chad is saying, is Tony a Muslim now? No, Tony is not a Muslim. He's going for that outdoorsy, manly look.
I know. What the hell?
He got himself a lady. And so now, you see, he's got the facial hair and he's got that, I'm a lumberjack and I'm okay. You know, he's got that going for him.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that at all. Now, DC Gaming is going to get down on me. Not go down on me, okay? Like,
Whoa.
he's going to get down on me, okay? I just want to make sure that we are not on the DL here on Moohead Radio.
YouTube, we are not promoting porn.
No, not like the White House is. Cousins only completed 65%, 3-1 TD ratio, interception ratio, and 3 straight seasons of over 4,000 yards in a Pro Bowl with the shit he had in Washington. I think he's pretty good. And I think that's the way teams are looking at it. I mean, the Daniel Snyder thing is like the Jimmy Haslam thing. It is tough to overcome, you know, and that's why you have to feel for a guy like RG3 who went the other way. This is like, if you notice, it's like Terrell Pryor. He succeeds in Cleveland. He fails in Washington. And RG3 succeeds in Washington. He fails in Cleveland. We keep swapping spit with Daniel Snyder. That's not working for me. Make it stop. My God. And Brian also says Washington had a crappy defense, so the losses are all on Cousins. No, they're not all on Cousins. But I think that it is an illustration of the guy who is the best available suddenly becomes beyond reproach. And that's, you know.
So let me ask you guys a question. I don't mean to put you on the spot. If you had to predict now, if you had to call a team now, where does Cousins go? I'm going to go with Jets.
Yeah, that would be the next logical place. Yeah, he could become the new Chad Pennington. There's another Marshall guy, right?
I really think he ends up with my Vikings. They have
Denver. One of those.
I think Denver's going for Keenum, and I don't see anybody taking a serious chance on either Sam Bradford or Teddy Bridgewater starting long term. So, and we're just not in the position to where we can go ahead and draft a quarterback unless we think Lamar Jackson is going to fall the 30 in them. And then we've had so many noodle arms run first quarterbacks that it's just, ugh.
What are you looking at, Tony?
I'm playing Madden right now, actually, while I'm on this.
Don't feel bad. This is the man who fell asleep during a blowjob. So don't feel bad. Don't feel hurt, guys.
Yeah, I'm actually playing Madden while I listen to you.
Yeah, he has an ADD kind of condition.
Multitasking, huh?
Yeah.
I'm updating my 2018 off-season roster.
Hey, so Mr. Moohead, I don't want to switch anything up on you guys because
feel free. This is what we do.
Is there anything in the NFL, like any new rules you would like to see, or any rules thrown out that you don't like, or is there anything because every year the NFL is always changing or re-adding rules. The catch rule is always the most controversial one because there's always so many ways to interpret what is a catch. Would you guys like to see it tweaked or enhanced or more specific or anything?
I think they've really run it into the ground, the catch thing. I grew up watching football, and I always thought it was, before we got into, whenever we hear the word process, that word is lawyer speak, That's what we get from a team that doesn't know what the fuck is doing. Well, you just want our fans to understand it's a process, which means we're not going to go anywhere. You have to complete the process of the catch. And, to me, it's a very simple thing. I want them to go back to the way it used to be. I mean, how can you catch a ball with your hands and not have it hit the ground part of the ball if you're extended out and make a hands grab? We teach these kids, you've got to catch the ball with your hands, not with your body. You get that extended catch, and did the ball move? I mean, if you roll over on the ball is going to move. I mean, please.
Because what I don't understand is if you catch the ball in the air but you roll on the ground, they're implying that the ball has to remain in a still motion throughout that process, and the ball cannot move at all. But if your hands are around that ball, right. I don't see how the ground could not be, it's a law of physics in that. So if the ball slightly moves, is it because your hands move the ball, or is it because the ground did it?
Right off the bat, I can tell you this. I'm glad that the NFL doesn't have control over the rules of masturbation, because it would be really, really difficult. It's like, I saw your dick moving. It's like, well, I can't move my hand without moving my dick. It's like, I don't know how they've made this so complicated. I mean,
okay, this is the stupidest rule I think it is in terms of the catch, and I think we can probably agree or disagree. If you're entering the end zone from the goal line, if the ball breaks the plane,
yes,
there's no process. Then why the hell do you have to have the process in the end zone when you catch the damn thing?
And
I don't understand the logic to that.
Well, that ended up biting them in the ass, didn't it? A couple times this year. I was taught when I learned football that if the running back gets the ball, the second the plane is broken of the end zone, the play's dead. It's a touchdown. Done. All right. This nonsense of we're going to suspend him in the air, Matrix style, and we're going to let continuation go on. No, it's a lot like the NBA. The NBA had that continuation rule that, guys would get fouled, and then they wanted more and one opportunities, and so they created this crazy, ridiculous definition of the and one, so that guys were bringing their arms up into somebody and just heaving the ball up and hoping it went in to get to the free throw line.
Oh, yeah, two things I want to add before we go to that NBA part. The first one is back to that NFL part. If I'm a defender and I'm at the goal line and you're on the defense, you're at the 1 yard line or the 2 or whatever, so you obviously know the probability of them scoring is 98%. If they're reaching over the pylon to stretch that ball, I as a defender should be allowed to knock that ball loose. There should not be a break the plane. Oh, well, the ball was broken before the ball was knocked loose.
Oh, breaking news. The Browns have traded Deshaun Kaiser to Green Bay.
Shut the fuck up.
Nope, Ian Rappaport tweeting.
What?
What?
Yep. Happy birthday to me.
I'm going to check that out.
Heartbroken. Move. How are you going to go on?
Wait.
Mr. Moon has that role, right?
Mr. President.
Wow, they fucking traded Kaiser? No fucking way.
See. Kaiser.
Ian Rappaport, the Packers have traded for QB Deshaun Kaiser.
Oh, my God. Are you shitting me?
Yeah, it says it right now on Rap Sheet. Ian Rappaport report the source. Packers have traded for quarterback Deshaun Kaiser from the Browns to Green Bay.
Yep, he is part of the Randall deal.
Oh,
Demarius Randall that they traded for.
Wow.
There's more going to the Browns. Or not more to the Browns.
Are making moves.
I mean, isn't that amazing? So you got Demarius Randall for your second-round pick last year. I mean, this is what you call trying to undo what was done. And Kaiser, in my estimation, what I disliked most about Kaiser, besides the fact that he was just panic-stricken and throwing the ball up for grabs and not learning from it, was his nonchalant attitude about forgiving himself constantly and seemingly not putting to practice what he allegedly had learned the week before. I mean, I've never seen somebody who just kept going out and repeating the same thing over and over again. I'm glad he's gone. But now, let me ask the panel this. People assumed that he would be the number 3 quarterback, that the drafted quarterback would be number 2. Now, there were other people who felt that Kaiser would be the number 2 quarterback, all right, and that the rookie would be number 3. Well, now that Kaiser's gone, does that change what we're doing here, or is the rookie going to be number 3 with the clipboard, not play under any circumstances, and who will the number 2 quarterback be in the logical event that Tyrod Taylor gets hurt because he gets hit by a semi that got by Spencer Drango or Sean Coleman?
Well, I'm assuming the rookie's number 2, but who's your third quarterback? Do you think they keep Kessler? Do you think they keep Hogan? I mean,
the Hogan. I mean,
they really aren't going to sign a guy. They're not going to really.
No, I mean, Hogan
nobody's
is
going to sign to
Dorsey's
be
guy.
a quarterback.
Yeah, Hogan's Dorsey's guy. So I guess maybe it'll be Hogan. I don't know, but that's
if they traded Kaiser, and that's true, despite the fact that they acquired Tyrod Taylor, this now opens up the door that maybe they might shift gear and draft a quarterback at 1 now. Because
obviously, I mean, definitely first or the fourth. I mean, I still can't believe. I know it's just breaking news that they gave up on Kaiser that quickly. I mean, his completion percentage and like you said, Mahou just throwing it up and not learning from it week after week after week, backpedaling. But with the physical tools that this guy had and where we drafted him, I thought we would at least sit on him for 1 more year and see if he developed at all in the offseason and how he compared in camp. But wow. I mean, I still haven't been able to process that. Now we got nothing. We got Tyrod Taylor, and then those 2 bums that were just referenced, Kessler and Hogan. And so obviously we're gonna take Darnold or Rosen or my guy Allen. I just can't believe we got rid of him. I mean, I know you got to be ecstatic, but I can't believe it.
Well, now here's my question.
Yeah.
Does this take the Browns does this put the Browns in the Cousins race? They've got the salary cap. I mean, it's going to be spendy, but
why him? No, why him and Tyrod Taylor? Tyrod Taylor, I mean, has to be your starter in this scenario. Has to be, because you're not going to bring in another veteran and have a veteran behind him. I mean, you don't go to camp when you have so many needs that the Browns have with 2 veteran quarterbacks duking it out in the preseason. I mean, that doesn't even make sense. So, boy, I hope we don't mess up and miss Saquon Barkley. I hope.
Yeah,
I know.
I'm with you. Man.
But then again, I'll ask the panel this question. From number 1 to number 4, quarterbacks, all right? And do you really think from number 1 to number 4, that every team is going to take a quarterback? And 2, who is going to be the guy left at number 4 for the Browns if they waited?
Well, if we don't take Saquon at 1, the Giants are taking him at 2, no doubt.
I don't think the Giants are giving up on Eli Manning, so I hope they go quarterback. And I don't think – see, the big care ball here is Indianapolis. Do they go quarterback? Do they not go quarterback?
That's true, because the question is Andrew Luck going to need that second surgery they've been talking about?
If Andrew Luck is healthy, you just don't give up on a guy like Andrew Luck.
Exactly.
So, I mean, the Browns could really have their rule of the roost at 4 of who in the hell they want. You know what I mean?
I think Barkley's probably going to have to go number 1 just to play it safe.
Oh, yeah, you got to go Barkley, but I mean, if Rosen goes, you still got Mayfield, you still got Darnold, you still got Allen.
Barkley and Allen. I'm on the Barkley-Allen train. That's me. But I know Moo's not big on Allen.
No, I wouldn't want him to throw a football at my face.
But I don't want him to either. I mean,
Sam Darnold and Kaiser on the same field. Imagine Darnold with his Frankenstein look and Kaiser with that cocky smile at the same time, and you're 0-10,
that was the thing that was mystifying about Kaiser. I mean, it was like, God,
I do wonder if this is going to lead to some sort of Baker Mayfield.
I do not want Baker. Fuck that guy.
Well, I mean, if I were to think which quarterbacks are going to drop to the 3 and 4 position, I think Mayfield and Allen are going to be the 2 guys who get dropped. I think when all is said and done, that Rosen is a pure thrower, and I think that he's going to be one of the guys. I would love for him to be available at 4, then we'd have all of our problems solved, but it's not going to happen, I don't think.
Adam Schefter, according to his sources, the Browns have swapped a 4th-round pick for a 5th-round pick in the Deshaun Kaiser trade.
So we gave up a 4th for a 5th?
Yep. For the Packers' 5th-round pick.
And, and to go back to your point, I'm sorry, what was it, Tony? It's not necessarily that we have to worry about the Colts drafting a quarterback. It's about a team coming up, trading up into that spot. So I don't necessarily think Indy's going to take a quarterback there, but I think if somebody really, really wants,
somebody will jump in. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, if not, I think 3 of the 4 guys could be there, but I think somebody's going to trade up. So I really don't know.
It definitely adds drama to the proceedings because now, I mean, God, we started out the show thinking we had something figured out. Now it's just all thrown up into the winds again. But my God,
according to Evan Silva, the comp for the Jarvis Landry trade is the 2018 4th round pick and a 2019 7th round pick.
Oh, nice.
And so the Browns essentially have no 3rd round picks, no 4th round picks, and then are back in the 5th.
Wait, we had 3 before any of these deals were made. We had 3 3rd rounders, right? So we got rid of all.
No, they got all 3 of them. Got rid of all 3 of them.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Now, DC Gaming saying the rookie is going to be the number 2 quarterback. Brian Hallman is saying basically, I guess he's talking about Josh Allen, that he could hit the broadside of a barn if the barn was 2 farms away from him.
You guys hate him.
Yeah. I'm not seeing anything substantive in the chat room. No Barkley at 1, DC Gaming saying, and any of the 4 quarterbacks at 4, that he changed it. Yes, Barkley at 1 and any of the 4. And that's kind of the way that I'm still looking at it, is that if one guy doesn't really, jump out at you of the list of the top 4 quarterbacks, and honestly, if the Browns just gave away Deshaun Kaiser, all right, I don't think that Josh Allen is on their radar with the low connect percentage. Another strong-armed guy who has a low completion percentage. I don't see them doing that again. So I would take Allen off the list. I just can't see. I mean, if the Browns dumped Deshaun Kaiser and proceeded to sign Josh Allen and draft him, I mean, I think the people in Cleveland would burn the stadium down. I really believe that. And so it's going to be one of the 3 other guys. I don't know. But, man, those other 3 guys, number 1, he cannot be as dominant at his position as Saquon Barkley will be.
He's the guy. I mean, I think he's going to be I think any team he goes to, I think he's going to have a Hall of Fame career, barring any injuries, just with the physical tools that this guy has. We'd just be idiotic not to take him. And man, I still can't wrap my head around the quarterback.
Let me ask you guys a question. After the draft is concluded, you have Barkley and whoever else you get at quarterback. With Tyrod Taylor starting, how many wins do you see the Browns at? Over or under 5?
Under. But there's a long way to go. There's $89 million. There's free agents to be had and a whole draft ahead of us. And it's interesting what's being said in the chat room really is the way I look at it too. It's like one guy says, not Allen because he's so inaccurate. Another guy says that Darnold is the white Kaiser, a human turnover machine. Then another saying Rosen is too frail. You see, and another guy saying I wouldn't want Darnold to carry my drinks. There's obvious problems. The accuracy thing is the most. Sorry, Michael, is to me the hardest hurdle to clear.
I know.
Fumble is. I remember running backs like Chuck Muncie who had major fumbling problems. Mike Pruitt had a major fumbling problem with Forrest Gregg, and he was basically never had problems with it once Sam Bertigliano came into the picture. There are guys who have histories of fumbling. Maybe we shouldn't totally hold that against Darnold. My concern about Darnold is that he just seems too passive to me. He seems to he's the other direction of what Baker Mayfield is, who's way too high on himself for what little he's done. So I don't know. And every one of them has their bugaboo about them.
Yeah. You've got people on Facebook, because I'm, as you know, a proponent of Allen, and people are like, oh, he's a white Cardell Jones or Jamarcus Russell. I just think, just based on what I saw, granted, it was a very small sample size at that Senior Bowl, and then the throws that he made at the Combine, which everyone should look good at the Combine, I thought he showed progression of getting better, not only just having the characteristics of DA, having that rocket arm, but he showed touch and some accuracy. But his numbers didn't really show it over his career, which was not very deep. So I don't know. I'm still sold on him, but it's a crapshoot with any of them.
I'm going to ask you a draft question, Michael. If you came into my room with what you just said, I'd say, are you attracted to Josh Allen?
Is that like that running back, that second?
Exactly.
Yeah. We're asking him, are you in the back or something?
Yeah. Basically, yeah. Is your mother a whore? It's like, do you like sucking dick? Just a little off the cuff question for you here. Before we get into the other stuff.
Mom's a whore. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean yeah.
No, not at all. To me, he passes the eye test. Both, height, weight, arm strength. I don't know. I like him better than Darnold.
Yeah. Erlanger Veritas in the chat room says, fun fact, each of the new Browns players won more than 0 games last year. It's like Mr. Glass half full. You gotta hand it to him. DC Gaming saying Dorsey is brilliant. We did all these moves and got much better and kept all of our first, second, and third round picks. Wow.
Well, no, I thought Tony just said all 3 of our third-round picks are gone.
We don't have any third-round picks. I mean, I don't know what this guy's talking about.
I don't know.
We
have 65.
Yeah.
Don't we have 60? We have 65.
You just traded that for
part of the Landry deal?
Yeah. Or no, they just traded that for
Demarius.
You said Kaiser was a 4th swap for a 5th.
Who was the Tyrod deal? They traded.
Oh yeah. All right. Well,
I couldn't think of his name for some odd fucking reason. We've only been talking about it for 57 minutes.
Yeah.
Game.
Hey, Mr. question. She wanted to know: should they place a chip inside of the football to determine where the exact measurement of the ball is? Sometimes the ball is placed in a bad spot or whatever by the refs, by the eye test. Or the process of a catch, if it hit the ground, should they just place a damn chip in the ball already? I mean, we have the technology,
Well, I guess that's an interesting question. It's like the GPS in the football, right? Yeah, but, the problem that we deal with is the officials union. It's just like the umpires union. When they were playing around with, I forget the name of the system, that was being run on Fox television that was calling balls and strikes. And they just would have none of it because the umpire unions could see we can't let our jobs be phased out. There's a lot of insecurity amongst the unions of officials. But boy, there are some bad spots. There are some really not even close spots that I saw this past season. And again,
it could determine a first down from a 4th down or like a second to a third or whatever by inches or centimeters. And with that chip in the ball, you can get a precise, exact measurement of where that ball is.
Well, it's interesting. The one guy who pulled out the sheet of paper, remember that?
Yeah, that's why my mom asked that.
Yeah, I mean, unbelievable.
Biggest I've ever seen.
Yeah, that was really weird. And you know why he did it? He actually said after he did it why he did it, and it was because he couldn't find Tony's penis to measure with. I'm kidding. I love Tony. I mean, it was there, and I just took it. It was just.
What was the logic of them putting the paper there, though?
Plus, he folded it in half. He went like
panicked. He panicked.
like this, and it still had room.
I want to ask Tony, because we're up to 7 o'clock and we're not making a lot of progress. I wanted to ask Tony the Derrick Rose thing. I want you to get an opportunity to vent. For those who don't know, the Minnesota Timberwolves have decided to sign Derrick Rose to a contract. Tom Thibodeau, his former head coach, where he played in Chicago. Now he's got Butler and Rose from a team that was known for its dissension, and Thibodeau, the coach, who was part of that volcanic problem in Chicago that has led them to the point where they're tanking. Why, Tony? Why are they doing this?
I don't know.
Well, Butler also is injured and he's out, so maybe that might have encouraged Minnesota to get an extra help.
Yeah, Rose wanted to come there because he wouldn't have to be around Butler. That's a real healthy kind of thing.
Butler's out with a torn meniscus. So that's why maybe the pressure might have been to help them get an extra guy on the court, you know?
Yeah, but the thing is, Butler defends and Butler can shoot. And the problem is that Derrick Rose, as far as I can see, can do neither based upon his performance with the Cavaliers. He can still drive to the basket, but his shot is flat. Well, I mean, it's like Tony watching Ricky Rubio all over again, which is a horrible nightmare to have to relive. The flat shot that just never goes in, and people will just stay off him from three-point range. It's the fear I have about Jordan Clarkson, too, is that his shot is too flat to be consistent from three-point range. But I can't believe that players who have already played together in a bad chemistry situation would be brought back together again. Seems unbelievable to me.
I don't know what this buffoon is doing. You bring in Jimmy Butler. You don't trade Andrew Wiggins, who is completely peaked as a player. Instead, you get rid of Zach LaVine, who is in his second year and was becoming a fairly solid player. You don't get them any help. You bring in Jamal Crawford, who shoots 47 times a game. You don't let Karl Anthony Towns be Karl Anthony Towns. It's just you bring in Jeff Teague, who lollygags his way through games and doesn't give a shit. I don't know anymore.
Yeah, the opportunity was there for the Timberwolves. You kind of see it slipping away. Now, for the rest of the panel, the Cleveland Cavaliers, Larry Nance Jr. Is a guy who did not shoot the ball in Los Angeles. And a lot of people are saying that there were a lot of reasons for that, most notably that Jordan Clarkson and Julius Randle and Ingram and a bunch of other guys wanted the shots instead. But watching Larry Nance Jr. play, is this guy maybe one that got away from Los Angeles? He's playing awfully well. And I'll tell you, for a guy who came with the reputation of, God, he's got a great vertical leap, he can block shots, he's athletic, but he can't shoot a lick. His shot does not look broken to me. In fact, even his three-point shot, which he hasn't mastered yet, is not as goofy looking as Lonzo Ball. I mean, he actually has, even at the free throw line where he was shooting 63%, the ball releases from his hand pretty cleanly. He's scoring around the basket. He's hustling. He's giving us Tristan Thompson, kind of old Tristan Thompson mobility, but with the ability to score from 16 to 18 feet away from the basket. What do you guys think about this?
Mr. Moohead, I think he scored 22 points the other night when they benched Tristan Thompson, and it just tells me that once Tristan Thompson, he's like the little boy that once he got his ball, he ran home, and that's what happened with that large contract he got. Typically, when you give a player an enormous amount of money for a little bit that they have proven based on a championship that was won off the back of Kyrie Irving and LeBron James performance. And I know Tristan Thompson, the old one, was okay, but after he got his contract, he just seemed null and void. I'm taking my ball and I'm going home. And I think this is almost the ending of Tristan Thompson in Cleveland. I'm sorry. I see it coming
I think any number of people, in fact, multiple people at the same time could get lost in Khloe Kardashian's ass. So, I mean, and I can't help but think that had, all of it just kind of went downhill for Tristan Thompson. I'm just surprised because LeBron James truly likes Larry Nance Jr. and is actually whipping him the ball in the open court, urging him to shoot the ball. I think when they asked LeBron after the game, did you know he could shoot like this? LeBron said, yeah. Yet Tyronn Lue said, I'm stunned. I didn't know that he could do that because he didn't do that in Los Angeles. We may have gotten ourselves a guy. I could see this guy as long as LeBron stayed in Cleveland and draws attention. And with the bigs being reluctant to leave the paint area, I could see Larry Nance Jr. being a 17-10 guy. And if that's the case, that's like his father was. Father was a 17-10 guy. Actually a 17-8 guy. And Larry Nance Jr. is a better rebounder than his father was. He's playing the center. He's playing the 5 as opposed to the 4. But could be a very important thing if LeBron stays. It's a building block that maybe we didn't expect to have. I'm not high on Rodney Hood right now. I call him Rodney Dud. That's that's my nickname for him. But he's going to be a free agent at the end of the year, so he's not going to be in Cleveland next year. I don't know. And that draft pick got worse because the Nets won last night. I can't believe the fucking Hornets, man. How do you lose to the Nets on your home court? How do you do that?
So I agree. Hey, Mr. Moohead, if the Cavs make the finals, I want to ask Michael this question, the panel. Would you rather see the Warriors in the finals, or would you rather see the Rockets currently on a 17-game winning streak going up against the number 1 team in the East tonight, the Toronto Raptors?
You asking me or Mr. Moohead? I think I want to see revenge against Golden State. I mean, I love the Rockets are they're the. I can't even talk right now, guys. Sorry, I just got the flu last night, so my brain's not working. But I definitely want to see vengeance on them fucking Warriors for sure.
Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that you're sick, Michael. That's not.
It just came out of nowhere. I haven't had the flu in years.
Don't touch people's food, man.
Because Mr. Moohead, Michael, if y'all face the Warriors again, that's the 4th time, and let's say you win, that's 2-2. Then you guys would have to face again next year to make it the tiebreaker. Like a best-of-5 series.
Yeah, but the league ain't good. I don't think the league wants that again. I think they want somebody else from the East to represent the East. And honestly, I don't think the Cavaliers are going to be in the finals. I think what's interesting about the Cavaliers is, and by the way, I want to say once and for all that Michael Jordan's legacy is in Charlotte, North Carolina. So fuck Michael Jordan and fuck all the talk about he's the greatest this, that, and the other. Michael Jordan was a great basketball player, but he was a lousy gambler and he's a lousy owner. Let's tell the truth about what it all is. He was an outstandingly great basketball player. But if you're going to compare him to LeBron James in entirety, LeBron James can do things that Michael Jordan never was able to do, and already has been vastly more successful in his personal business than Michael Jordan was, and as far as parlaying this iconic status into something more. All he's done is run the Charlotte Hornets into the ground. That's all he's done, is keep Michael Kidd-Gilchrist's broken jump shot. Yep. And you lose to the fucking Nets, you're sitting there watching Spencer Dinwiddie deal all over you. I mean, and you should have seen this. The arena was half empty. I mean, it's like nobody's going to see Michael Jordan's team. I mean, he's got no cachet. The NBA didn't even fucking talk about him anymore.
No, Jordan was a shitty owner in Washington. Before he came back to the Wizards, he was terrible over there for like 3 or 4 years. He was an owner. They were winning like 20 games a year.
I mean, I look at it and I say, boy, for a guy who's this iconic figure, nobody's talking about it at all. I mean, it's like a hush thing.
The only thing he's successful at is those crappy ass shoes he still sells for $200, $250.
That's his legacy, that he got the big Nike deal. But I mean, that he was the logo, right? That's his legacy. But, we're living in a different time now. As far as the Cavaliers are concerned, we don't have enough to be able to push us to the finals. The only thing we could hope for to get there is that somehow this team comes together a little bit more, and Boston, who I think is better than Toronto. Toronto is a team that has been wonderful this year, but it's the same thing as the Rockets. You better look out about 22-game win streak Indians and 17-game win streak Rockets. Are you peaking too soon? You wonder when you start seeing this kind of stuff. Boston really peaked early, then kind of settled down. And if they make another further run as they move toward, I still think Boston is the team to beat. It's a well-coached team in the East. I think that Toronto is not. I think that Cleveland and Boston would be the logical East final, only from the standpoint that the league wants to prove that Boston is, I think, as Michael Buffer would put it, and new. That's how Michael Buffer would say.
That's funny. I like that. But let me ask you a question. My dad said the NBA Eastern playoffs would be born if the Cavs were knocked out early. If assuming the Sixers would knock the Cavs out in round one. I froze?
Oh, maybe it was me.
Mr. Moohead. Oh, no. If the Cavs were knocked out in the first round, you would have, assuming all the higher seeds won out, you'd have Toronto and Wizards, and then you would have Sixers and Celtics. And my dad said, I don't think ESPN's going to be screaming for high ratings to see that, that Final Four there,
Well, somebody's got to sell me on these teams because, and before we go off the air here, I think that it's, I'm going to go into the standings and, you're mentioning the Philadelphia 76ers. We'll use them as an example. Every time the 76ers look like they're getting somewhere, they lose to the Miami Heat. Okay. That's the last game. Okay. They beat the Hornets before that, but they lost to the Bucks. All right. And the Bucks and the 76ers are two teams that would be, I guess, somewhat comparable as far as making their way up into the playoff situation. And going back into the standings, then you're looking at the Wizards. Well, the Wizards, they beat the Heat, but they lost to the Pacers. They lost to the Raptors. They lost to the Warriors. The Warriors, okay, I get it. But to lose to the Pacers, score under 100 points, and to lose to the Raptors and score fewer than 100 points, I mean, the Wizards are incredibly inconsistent. I mean, it's just.
Can we all agree that the NBA Finals ratings would not be great for the East unless the Cavs with LeBron goes there? Because who would want to see a Warriors-Raptors Finals where it would predominantly Warriors would dominate the Raptors, maybe in 5 if you're lucky, or if you saw a Rockets Raptors Finals or like a Wizards Warriors Finals? I don't think nobody would be intrigued by that. It would almost seem like the path would have to be paid for ratings-wise for the Cavs at least to have to represent the East.
At least Toronto is winning. I mean, look at the Pacers. They just got done getting blown out by the Jazz. Now, the Jazz has played some good basketball, but the Pacers beat the Bucks. The Pacers beat the Wizards, and they beat the Bucks a second time. Yet they lost to the Hawks. This is what's happening, and they lost to the Mavericks before the Hawks. Those are the two worst teams you could lose to. Yeah. So, these teams are not consistent, and they're not going to play strong 7-game series. I mean, because they can't put together more than 2 wins without losing to somebody who just sucks. I mean, the same thing's true with the Heat. The Heat, they lose to the Wizards. They beat the Suns. They beat the Pistons, but the Pistons have been losing. Why Stan Van Gundy has a fucking job, I have no idea. They lost to the Lakers and gave up 131 points to the Lakers. They barely beat the Sixers, and they lost to the Pelicans. So, I mean, the Miami Heat, again, they're treading water. Somebody's got to do better, than tread water.
Do you think maybe that's why the NBA is pushing to a top 16 playoff, is because they're getting so much pressure from the Eastern Conference not being as entertaining as the West, or stacked or dominant as the West?
Well, I just think it's teams overall. I mean, you mean to tell me a team like, for example, the Portland Trailblazers, if they don't get, within the top 8, they shouldn't be in the playoffs over the fucking Detroit Pistons? I mean, come on.
There's more parity in the league, in the East, but that parity is settling around 500.
Yeah.
That's
it's been like that for years, though. I mean, it's been,
but like not to this. We have more teams fighting for that, for the 4th and 5th and 6th position, but the teams are not consistent.
And the East dominated mainly the Eastern Conference. You had the Knicks, you had the Bulls. Yeah, the Hornets, the Heat, all those teams were really good. And in the West, it was just like flip a coin and see who comes out. I mean, the Rockets won at the number 6 seed with 45 wins that year. They were 45-37. They actually had the strongest the strongest strength of schedule going in as they went into their run into the playoffs, facing the Jazz, the Spurs, the Suns, and went to the finals that year and faced the Orlando Magic. They were a 6 seed, 45-win team that year.
Yeah. I mean, to me, parity is one thing, but still there's only a couple teams that even have a chance to win the championship. So it's not real parity in that sense. But there are teams with guys like, Embiid. There's individual talents like Giannis. There's, these teams have individual players, but they don't have a collective ability to night after night after night win. That's Cleveland's greatest hope, is that in a 7-game series, that if it comes down to push and shove, that we have Kevin Love and we have LeBron James. So maybe if we can get people into the deep water, they'll drown. That's kind of.
If the Cavs win this year, hypothetically, if they win, does LeBron stay?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so. But
yeah,
I
if
think
they win the finals, I think he stays. If they don't, it's all bets are off.
So I think LeBron needs to be the highest paid player all time, not James Harden. And you're talking about a Rockets fan. I think LeBron should get a max contract, 5 years, $300 million. He is a $300 million player. I think he should get.
I don't think money matters to LeBron anymore.
I understand, but I think he should be the highest paid player. What do you think?
He wants to be the $1 athlete, so he wants to get as much.
If these guys turn out to be a decent supporting cast, and if the pick turns out to be a decent pick, I could see LeBron staying in Cleveland because he's from here, and I think also that he would be, still unfinished business. But if it all falls apart, I mean, in these next X number of games, if Jordan Clarkson just turns into a ball hog who just can't hit a good enough percentage of his shots, and if we're reduced to Jeff Green holding his lower back and Cedi Osman being reluctant to shoot, LeBron isn't going to come back for that. So, I mean, there's a lot riding on the last, 20 games or whatever of the season. There's a lot riding on this.
Should Kevin Love hurry up and come back? Because, like I said, he needs at least 10 to 15 games to gel into that offense. Because, you need time for that continuity, that chemistry to go in the NBA, and you need an X amount of games. I'm fearful if they wait till 5 games left, that may not be enough time to determine exactly where Kevin Love fits in this role with this new roster.
Well, I think where he fits in is, as long as Larry Nance stays healthy and can hold the fort down, he's your stretch 4, and he's got to heal and he's going to play. And they don't want to rush him back, but at the same time, they want to get him ready and up and running as soon as they can, in a safe way. But I can see that with the way Nance moves around, his mobility and his ability, when he runs a pick and roll, goddammit, it isn't Tristan fucking Thompson. This guy, he runs into the screen, he sets the screen, and he explodes on the roll. And he's quick and he's nimble. And, and if he can go out and shoot an 18-foot shot, that's going to allow Love to post sometimes too. It's a real turnaround. It will spread the floor much better. And even a guy like Rodney Dudd is going to find more open look from three-point land with that floor spread, which we haven't been able to do really since Kyrie Irving left. So I'm looking forward to that. Guys, at 7:20, I got to get out of here. It's dinner time.
Well, Cavs and Lakers tonight.
No, and Clippers.
Oh, it's Clipper. Yeah, Lakers are Sunday. Yep.
Cavs play tonight?
Cavs play at 10:30 against the Clippers. Yep.
Yeah,
what's on the menu for dinner tonight, man?
What's on the menu for dinner? Chicken.
NBA TV players only. Moo's favorite tonight.
Oh, man. I don't like
you guys
that.
a question before you get off. Does Rockets win 18 in a row tonight? Yes or no in Toronto?
Oh,
I say no. I think the streak ends tonight.
No, I say it continues.
me too.
Yeah. I think they're saving up, man, for that. I think that it's going to be an exciting day in Toronto, night in Toronto. That's for sure. But
next play in 10 minutes.
yeah. Well, that's something to watch. All right, guys. Hey, you did a great job. Give yourselves a round of applause. And Michael, boy, if for a guy suffering with early stage flu, you just literally you've won the bravery award.
Oh, I appreciate it. I had to call off work, man. It came on out of the blue last night, and my whole body is fucking hurting, and I just feel like shit.
Get some rest, take in fluids, you know.
The Hugh Jackson Just Trust Me Award.
Yeah.
and Stephen,
pleasure. Good to see you guys. Have a good one.
Yeah, you too. And Stephen, thanks for joining us. You're always welcome. I'm glad this is working again. And Tony, don't worry, things will be all right for the Timberwolves. You're going to be in the playoffs, and that's more than you were getting.
Twin season is upon us, and we've loaded up for the year.
For today. We're on here an hour, and I mean we're almost an hour and a half, so we got to give it a Hugh Jackson Trust Me Award for that.
Oh, fuck Hugh Jackson!
Let's go jump in Lake Erie, everybody. See you later.
All right, guys. Thanks for joining me. We'll see you again on Monday. Until then, hasta la vista, faster heads. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.